Systemic racism. The camera points way up like the image, my face almost reaches the sky because the food's so high too. It's so tall. And in the middle of this break from page 455 of Visual Neurosciences, my neurons start to connect with synapses. And books go on my list to explain the process better and the system medicine has made describing what's happening in the brain now. Neuroscience. The stomach, burping, all these different parts to health. And everybody keeps saying this systemic racism. All the way to the schools now. Now colleges and universities are included in the language. With very little further discussion. With such powerful demands, getting rid of the system to end the racism, and not saying what system they're talking about now. Government racism would be more easy to understand. College racism would be equally valid. But saying systemic racism defeats the whole argument from its beginning. The system of race and the system of culture and ethnicity and dialect, everyone has made to describe and explain who they are in the world and where they come from and what they do, when they do it, involves a lot of processes. Seeing the color of a skin and saying the appropriate language required from the person who's in the group, who wants the acknowledgement. The Antifa, social activist, who wants no fascism. A system they're describing within the whole Black Lives Matter language and activism and politics, saying no more systemic racism. Being explained by a system with people involved making processes such as no gender, etiquette, keeping the behavior to a minimum. So almost in other words, they're saying in order to get rid of the racism in the system, there must be the anarchy. Except the anarchy being described still has all of the parts involved in the current world they're against now and angry at and saying needs to be abolished. Because in the world where there's no system, then there can't be race, ethnicity, or dialect. And then eventually, the wise and the intelligent and the strong and the powerful eliminate all language from the conversation and the discussion about the words and the letters said now. And make the world gesture, communication, and peace, calm, and silence. Almost similar to the military. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Speak when spoken to in boot camp. Respond when told. And no other options to decide now. The target everyone makes now with the systemic racism and the language and the words and the letters and the sentences are no different than a bullseye and the stimulus in the middle. And then afterwards, nobody's explaining how the world continues with nobody arresting anybody, nobody giving respect with a bow or a hello with a cigar. A tashi delik with a kata. But instead, nothing. At all. What? So ever. A world with infinite art, images, words, and language within the limits of those in charge who carry rifles and pistols, knives on their belts, and give away free food. For a world with no money, no worth financially other than the value their human life provides to the planet. Potentially not called Earth anymore, as the elimination of the entire systemic racism being fought against now. Simply described with two hands in the shape of a sphere, perfectly circular and never two scrunched together. Think of a ice cream shop where people have decided naming the choices has turned violent, inconsiderate, and wrong. And each bucket has to be visually determined by the brain to be worth purchasing, and in the terms of now, worth consuming. Taste then turns into the color most exciting. Ingredients are identifiable objects. And very similar to how animals eat. Going through trash and eating grass and parts of trees. All, they say, for what the world needs now. The end.